Probably more so user error. I probably should have just went ahead and split several of them, but this thing may require its own length of firewood. Hey everyone, Mike here, Rusty Garage and Homestead. Welcome back to the channel. So recently, the company I work for had a benefit auction. They do that about every year where a bunch of vendors will donate a bunch of different things to the company, and then they'll have a big auction to auction everything off just to raise money. So in this year's auction, I was able to get a hold of a solo stove. Me and the wife have both been wanting one of those for quite a while. So let's get this thing unboxed, put it together, and let's get a fire in this thing, see how it works. All right, here it is. This is the Solo Stove Bonfire model 2.0. Again, I did buy this. This wasn't sent to me or anything like that, so I'm wanting to give this thing a try, see how well it works. It is all stainless. It says it weighs 20 pounds. The diameter is 19.5 inches. The height is 14 inches. And it's made out of 304 and 430 stainless steel. So what I know about the 2.0 versions of these is they actually have a removable ash pan in them. So we'll see how that works also after we get a fire put in it. Because we are going to want to burn this thing, have a first initial burn in before we use it for the kids to cook anything on or anything like that. So probably make sure I get 1 to 2 burn ins for this just to make sure any manufacturer's oils or anything like that is all burnt off of it. So the main components of it. You've got the fire ring up here at the top. That's going to help circulate the air in it to help the reburn on it. It does show the secondary burn, removable base plate down here, removable ash pan, 360-degree airflow, all these holes down here, taking air in, and then the stand, this bottom piece right here that everything's going to sit on. So let's go ahead and get this thing opened up, pull everything out, put it together, and let's get a fire put in this thing. Now, I know a lot of people have these smokeless stoves. They've become quite the popular thing nowadays. They've got small ones that fit up on tabletops. They've got a larger version than this and then a smaller version. I'm pretty sure the Bonfire is the one that's right in the middle. Okay, and it does have some information. Before you burn in one of these, make sure the fire ring is not upside down. The reburn's not going to work correctly if it is, and I'm sure you'll be getting a lot of smoke out of it. And then it says start the fire small, which that should be a given, and then the quality over quantity. Obviously, you don't want logs sticking up out of it. That's probably not going to work very well for you. And we've got the ring. Actually, let me set this down. Looks like I can pull the entire thing up out of here. We've got the fire ring up here at the top. Got an instruction manual, QR code if you want to look any of that up when you purchase one. It does have a Solo Stove bag to be able to package this thing up, carry it. I know a lot of people use these things when they're camping and different things like that. There's your base plate. Okay, there's your bottom grate. Goes on the bottom. Got 2 little finger holes there to be able to pull it up out. And then that is your ash pan. For the 2.0 versions of this stove, comes with the ash pan. And then inside of it, that's it. That's the entirety of it. There's the bottom. All your intake holes that go all the way around come up through there. And then your ash pan, when your ash pan sits on there, there's still an air gap in here, so that air can come up through here and then go right around into the upper walls for the reburn holes. Okay, we need to get the base put on, or the stand, I think is what they actually call it. Okay, so it looks like the base plate, the stand, that's all it is. It doesn't physically attach to the stove at all. It just sits down there to kind of help kick the stove up off the ground a little bit. But it is small enough for it to fit inside. So when you package everything up into your carrying basket, all this stuff will fit on the inside of it. So we don't need to do anything with that just yet. And then the carrying bag. It does say to don't leave these things out in the weather. Basically, if you're going to store it, not use it, put it inside this bag or under a covered area. Pretty good sized bag for it. Looks like the stove will fit in that just fine. It's got carrying handles, drawstring up at the top, and the inner side seems like it's kind of lined with some sort of like PVC type material. It's real slick on the inside, so you're not going to have to worry about scratching or anything like that. But this stove, once we get this first burn done, or the second burn, first couple burns, it's going to change colors. It's not going to be this shiny stainless steel. It's going to turn more of a gold color. really looks, yeah, there is a ring around the bottom. I'm just gonna set this up on here. Yeah, fits up in this little groove right in here. The ash pan goes in. Your fire grate, this is fairly heavy. That's good. And then your fire ring. So when you are burning in this ring will fit on both directions, down low. And I imagine if you're storing it in the bag, you're probably going to want to put it down like that just so it doesn't get beat up on anything. But when you start the fire, that ring has to be like this for this to work correctly. And I know there is a lot of different manufacturers of these smokeless stoves. I think Solo Stove was probably one of the original ones that I can remember. But I know there's a lot of other companies out there that are making these now. But after I picked this one up, I did look at a lot of the reviews for the Solo Stove brand, and everyone that owns them really seems to like them quite a bit. So this thing's put together, not much to it. Basically, the pieces just kind of fit in there in the order that I just showed you. So let's go ahead and take this thing to the backyard and go ahead and start getting the initial burn in on it. And then we'll do some updates and kind of see how the reburn works on it and how it is cleaning the ash pan out at the bottom. Okay, and something I did just notice, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up or not, but the vendor that donated this to the company to be auctioned off was Swedgelock. And I see right here where Swedgelock looks like it was laser engraved into this. So I guess that is an option for some of these. If you want to personalize them somehow, you're able to. But I didn't realize that Swedgelock's name was on the Solo Stove until now. So it does say Solo Stove, that's kind of imprinted into the case. And then this is all laser engraved, it looks like. It says Swedgelock, Oklahoma, and West Texas. Kind of cool that you can personalize these. Not sure how they did, but obviously there's a way to do it. Okay, so something I'm assuming is this stove. I don't know if it's going to accept my normal size firewood or not. That's something we're going to try out on it just to see. Let's get this thing fired up. I'm going to go grab some fat wood, and then I've got some smaller cedar. We're going to sit down in this thing and get it started small, and then we'll start feeding it some larger stuff. And we'll see if we can fit my normal size firewood into this, or if we're going to have to cut it down. This thing may require its own length of firewood for us to use, but we'll see. Okay, I got some of my regular firewood here, got some cedar chunks, and I got some fat wood. So let's see, I'm just curious. Okay, actually my regular firewood fits down in there just fine. So that is good to know. Get a couple pieces of this fat wood. I'm just gonna put the fat wood down in here, put some cedar on top of it, and let it go for a bit. Now these are advertised as a smokeless stove, but obviously it's going to take a little bit for this fire to get good and hot, and then it'll become more of a smokeless stove. Okay, the fat wood's burning. Just going to kind of lay it down in here. We've got some little cedar limbs. And I think we're just going to let that do its thing. Once it gets going a little more, I'll start adding some of this oak and hickory that I got. So this is my first time using any fat wood. I don't have any pine trees on this property, so I couldn't go make any, but I picked some up from Ace. They had a little box of them. But this stuff puts off fairly black smoke. Is that pretty normal with fat wood burners for starting fires to have black smoke coming out of it? It might be. I'm just not used to seeing the black smoke coming off of it. Looks like the fat wood on this side actually stopped. I'm gonna go ahead and try to light both ends of the 2 sticks of fat wood. Okay, that one should be catching itself. You can see that fire's getting over onto that piece. Okay, well, I'm gonna get upwind of it, let it be, and let it go ahead and get started. Actually, really happy that it'll accept my normal length firewood. Because when you got to cut something a specific length just to use something, it kind of makes it a little bit of a pain. But I know some people have pizza ovens and wood smokers and things like that they do cut specific size length firewood just for use in that. But whenever you can make it all the same length, it just makes it that much more convenient. Let's move you guys more upwind as well. Hopefully you don't catch on fire. Okay, we'll let that go for a bit. I do have some knots and little branches laid over here on this stump that something needs done with, so I'm gonna go ahead and set these over here too. We'll burn these in this thing. These knotted up little short pieces, those should work pretty good. Just taking a few more pieces of that cedar that I've got. Knock it down a little smaller. Really don't like burning rounds like what I put in there. I haven't split any of this stuff up. Okay, let's toss that in there. Oops. Said start small. This thing is definitely not a smokeless stove yet, but that cedar, some of it was cut this year. I know cedar dries out pretty quick, but the cedar should be dried. None of it was split. It was physically dry. I had it up there with my rest of my wood. I've been using this to light my wood stove so far this year, and it works, but we'll see. Once this thing comes up to temperature and starts pulling air through it like it should, that reburn will kick in, but I think that's going to be once we get some of this larger oak or hickory put in there and really start getting it going. Now, I would like to eventually build a little area to put the stove at, kind of as a centerpiece, kind of like Joe at the Okie Woodsman did with his new smokeless fire pit that he's got. That entire area of his has changed dramatically on how it looks, and it's become a lot more of a usable space for him and his family and friends. Do any of you all out there run a smokeless style stove like this in your backyard or on your patios or anything like that? If you do, what are you burning in them, and who makes them? Starting off with the cedar rounds probably wasn't the best. I probably should have just went ahead and split several of them, but it looks like it's starting. It's just going to take a little bit for it to get going. Probably more so user error. It has been probably close to 10 minutes, no more than 15. It's still smoking. The smoke has slowed down quite a bit. I think just the hotter it gets and the more it gets going, the less it's going to smoke. There's still smoke plumes coming out every once in a while. A lot of that's probably my fault with what I started with. I should have split those cedar rounds into smaller pieces and stuck on that fat wood and really got that going instead of just putting the entire round on it. That's okay. I'm learning. Haven't ever used one of these before, but we'll get it figured out. I think I'm going to go ahead and shut this camera off. I'll leave the DJI action cam going as long as possible. This is probably going to take a little bit, so save on some battery. I'm going to go ahead and shut that camera off, and we'll come back whenever this thing is going a lot better. The cedar is burning up pretty good. I'm going to see if I can bust these in half. Probably not with my little hatchet. We may just add them to it as is. We don't have any smoke coming out. That's starting pretty decent, so I'd like to start adding some more wood to it. Okay, let's start adding some of the smaller oak in here. Get the camera moved back so I don't burn it up. Okay, it actually has started doing some of the reburn. Let me see if I can get it on camera. You can see right around that top ring over there, occasionally the flames start coming out of it. Once this fire gets good and hot, hotter than it is, they'll really start coming out of it. But it is burning that flue gas off now. All right, well, we're just going to let this thing keep going. Once this burns down some, I'll add some of this more wood to it just to try to get a good hot fire in it, just to get this initial broken done. But it's probably been close to 20 minutes since we originally started it. Fire is coming through the reburners right now. I did split some of that oak a little bit smaller just to lay down in there. All of it seems to be catching pretty good, and it looks like it's starting to become a pretty hot fire. So I'm just going to continue to monitor this, let it burn down, keep adding some wood to it, and we'll be back. All right, everyone, the clips you just seen, that was last night. I fed this thing wood most of the day into the night. You can see in those clips that the reburn was burning around. This thing does go through wood fairly quick, a little quicker than I was thinking it would, but overall it did pretty well. So the last little bit I'm wanting to show you on this is how you change the ash pan out on the Bonfire 2.0, and we'll just kind of look over it and see how everything looks since we've got the initial broken done. So you can see we have that bronzish gold color all the way around inside. We've got this little bit of ash. I'm sure they sell some sort of brush or anything like that. I just use my fingers. I can wash. But this is your grate, your removable grate. Just trying to get as much ash as I can up in here. Okay. Actually, I'm going to pull this ring off, lay it over to the side. Do any of y'all use any of your wood ash from either your fireplace, your wood stove, or your solo stove, something like this? Do any of y'all keep it? Because there's actually a ton of uses for wood ash that you can use in your garden, in your chicken coop, cleaning windows, different things like that. There's all sorts of uses for it, but I keep mine, for the most part, to put in the garden. Dad's, most days it gets tossed out in the driveway, and that's where it stays. But I do have a metal trash can with a metal lid that I put all my wood stove ashes in. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the ashes from this into this. Okay, so you guys seen the fire ring, got it gone. Here's the plate. We'll just lay it over here to the side. And here's the ash pan. Fairly full from a night of burning. There's a little bit of ash down in here. I'll go ahead, tip this thing over and dump it out. And you can see we are early in our wood burning season, so not a lot of ash. So I'll go ahead and dump what little bit is left in there into there. Okay, since we're all cleaned out, go ahead and put the ash pan back in, the grate, and the fire ring. We'll go ahead and lay it up on top. I'll go ahead and put this up on the patio where it's out of the weather. Then it's at an easy point of use spot for whenever we need to use it. All right, everyone. I really think my family's going to get a lot of use out of this thing. Since it does have the stand and everything, and there's not really a lot of heat on the bottom side of it, I think we're going to be able to use it on our concrete patio easily, as long as we're not under the roof part. I think stick it over to the side and I think it'll be just fine. But I've been wanting one for a long time. Finally had the opportunity to get a hold of one, so I'm really looking forward to it. I will go ahead and leave a link to this stove, Amazon link to it down in the description if you're interested in one. I know they do have a lot of different accessories. Again, I paid for this thing. Solo Stove did not send it to me or anything like that. But so far, quite pleased with it. Glad we got the initial burning done, so now the kids can start roasting marshmallows or hot dogs or whatever they want on this, and it can be a nice little centerpiece on the back porch whenever we're sitting down and relaxing. Anyways, everyone, if you enjoyed the video, give the video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.